This video is going to be about concrete resurfacing. Now, usually when someone asks me to pour a concrete driveway in Pennsylvania, I'll tell them it's not a good idea, the salt will kill them, use blacktop. But some people do, and after years it starts to deteriorate. So I'm going to show you the way I do it. Everybody in every state has a different reason for doing it different ways, but this is the way we've done it for years. So this is another little driveway I just finished. It had spalding on it, the top was peeling off, and I fixed it and I painted it with Portland. But at the end of the video I'm going to have a commentary and tell you more about what's going on with resurfacers. When I was growing up, the traditional way I learned to fix concrete was you wet it first. With a sponge, with a sprayer, whatever you want to do. Make sure there's no standing water. Then I get Portland. Regular Portland, paint it with the brush like this. This is the traditional way I grew up doing it, and we never had problems. And then we mix 2 sand and 1 Portland. And we put it over the top like that. Like that. That's the traditional way to do it. Then you get your sponge and you just go over the top. Make it look like the rest of the cement like that. See that? That's the traditional way to patch cement. Now what we're doing today is we're resurfacing a driveway. This is old school, what you call using Portland whitewash. And we're here with my neighbor John, and he's resealing his driveway, and he's just using straight Portland and maybe a little bit of bonding he adds to it. And we're going to show you how he did it. Okay, this is my neighbor John, and he's painting his driveway with Portland, which is an old school technique. And he's going to use, you're going to use 3 coffee cans of Portland.
This is halfway up.
Yep. One. Now this is old school. This is before
halfway up.
Halfway up. Yep. 2, 3.
Halfway up.
Yep. So he puts the Portland in. Now he's going to add a little bit of Quickcrete. Yep. It's a bonding agent. So that's for the new schoolers.
This
if you want.
is I believe a 8 ounce cup.
Yep.
Coffee cup you get out of McDonald's and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm going to pour half glue.
Yep. Half glue.
Put the lid on so you don't spill it like I did.
Yep.
Too expensive. Okay.
Yep.
Fill it up with water.
He's going to fill his cup up with water.
And I'm going to mix it before I put it in.
Everybody's got their own technique.
I'm going to mix it.
Yep.
Now we're going to add a little bit of water at a time. I like to use this instead of a bucket because I mix it better. A lot of people put it in a bucket. And they have a blender they mix up with.
Yeah.
And it should be like a latex paint. Am I right, Michael?
Yeah.
Kind of mix it so it's like a latex paint.
Right. You're mixing it basically into a paint. That's it. That's the way you want it.
The consistency?
Yep.
Almost like a latex paint.
Right. Make sure it's wet. You have to go over the wetness.
I'm going to start up here.
Paint it right over the wetness. Make sure it's good and wet, because that's what makes it stick.
It's always best to put it on in the shade on a cloudy day when it's not so hot. Otherwise the sun dries it up too fast, concrete becomes too hot. Actually, it's pretty easy process. If I have done this from day one when I first poured the concrete, the first or second year, this is better than water sealer because this is putting the surface right on top.
So this is a driveway just resurfaced. I'm going to show you how I did it. Right here we have a typical case of spalling. So what do you do? Now let's say we're patching a driveway and we got a hole about a quarter inch or bigger. See how it's peeling up? You got to go over it with the wire brush. Get everything off that's loose. This is loose right here. Get it all out of the way with the wire brush. So you can see the stuff that's popping up with the hammer. Get it all loosened up like that. So what you want to do is you want to wet it good first. I left my sprayer at home. You let that water kind of sink in there. If the hole is bigger than a quarter inch deep, I'll use Cement-All. And I'll just mix this into the cement, that's all. And use that. And making sure it's still wet. I'll put the Cement-All in just like that. And it's at least a quarter inch or deeper I use Cement-All. That fills in the big holes. Sponge float. This is just a sponge float. And make sure you clean it good. But you just go around it to kind of flatten it out because we're going to put that other stuff right over the top of it. Or you got a little area like this where this is piped up here. You want to get that all out of there too. So now we're going to patch that up. I'm going to wet it first. Concrete or nothing's going to stick unless you wet it first. And then, when it gets to this consistency, see that? It takes a little while after you mix it. You put it in. You make sure you get it in there good. Just like that. So now we let it set for a little bit. We add a little more to it like this. What you're doing is you're forming it, you see? You're forming it to make it look like the rest of the sidewalk. Then wipe it with a sponge. If you want it to stick, you gotta wet it. Just get the sponge float and sponge it in. So I got some Cement-All and I rubbed it in here. Now I'm going to paint the whole thing with Portland. That's going to hide all that spalling. It's an old school method of fixing things. So then we just wet it down. Paint it with the Portland. So you've seen us use some old school techniques of resurfacing a sidewalk. Now they make resurfacers and they're fine, but they're expensive. This is like $25 a bag. A bag of Portland and a thing of glue is between $25 and $30. We did the whole driveway with it. The thing about it is when you go to resurface a driveway, you have to realize that once you do it, you have to do it all the time. It's an every year process. Just if you had a blacktop driveway, you know, every couple of years you get out there and you redo the blacktop driveway. Same thing with masonry. Differences with Portland and this resurfacer is Portland is so thin that it just kind of wears away and it kind of flakes away, and then when you repaint it you don't see it. Resurfacers kind of break up and they leave like potholes and you have to scrape it off more. Everybody's got a different opinion. In Pennsylvania what happens is it rains and it snows and all that moisture gets inside that resurfacer, because concrete is not really waterproof. It absorbs the water just like limestone, and then it freezes. And in the winter time it's 20 degrees at night, it's 40 degrees during the day. 20 degrees at night, that's wet, it busted up. So resurfacers do not last. But as long as you're going to resurface something and you realize that you got to do it every year, usually in the spring, to make it look good, you're fine. But I'm just showing you some old school techniques. You get a better idea what's going on. If it was me, you're not sure what you want to do, just take a little section and try it out for the year and see how it works. But I don't want to tell anybody how to do it or what to do, but I'm just showing you what I do, and that's the way it is in Pennsylvania. We see these companies come in, they're here for 2 years and they're gone, because nothing lasts and nothing works. All it is a covering. As long as you understand that, you're okay. And then some people ask me, well, what about a bonding agent? And what about when you seal it? Well, I never seen anything that works. And I'm telling you the truth, nothing works. I don't care if they did it with kryptonite. Some stuff works better than others depending on what time of year you did it, whatever. And but I hope you got the idea, is that this is old school technique and I'm just passing it on. And then some people ask me, how about a paint? Well, paints work too, but sooner or later they're going to peel up too. One good thing about paint is if you put the paint on and you keep the water off the top of it, that'll usually last longer. I did that on my steps video when I paint the church steps. But every year I got to go back in the spring and I paint the church steps and I patch it up. So as long as you realize you got to keep patching and painting or resurfacing, you're okay and it'll work. And then some will say, well, doesn't Portland bleach? Yeah, if you got a big driveway and a little piece is undercover, when it rains, the part of Portland that gets wet will bleach like a white, and the other part will stay like dark. So that's also an issue. I did a video called, I'll put it on the screen here, about bonding and whitewash, and that's going to explain a lot about what the old timers used to do. So that's the end of the video.